probably Piastri has the advantage, and even if anything does go wrong, obviously just owing to that, to the engine failure that Norris had in Zandvoort, yeah, it's one of those where he's now really on the back foot because obviously he's over, was it over a race win, an uncontested race win away from Oscar Piastri, and obviously that builds you quite a nice buffer if you are if you are the leading driver there. So yeah, it needs to be a good weekend for Norris, and unfortunately we don't really have much form on him. He'll obviously be hoping to strike back, and very clearly he raced through the field very well that last year to come home in fourth. So obviously the car was very, very good at that point, but I think just given the ability he had to race through the field, and it shows that he should be able to at least do something well around here. Obviously, he made that mistake in qualifying, and I don't think that'll be hanging over his head at all. But yeah, he really needs to get some points on the board and keep building it up. Obviously, it's not ideal to just have that small swing, but you never know. These reliability problems tend to come in sort of waves. If one if you're the teammate that gets them first, then they're usually the same batch or something like that. So Piastri might have it this time, and if Piastri is going to have a non-point scoring race owing to a reliability failure, it's probably going to be here. It is quite stressing on the engines in that way, and I think, to be honest with you, I think that's what Norris will be hoping for, just to try and bring that gap down very, very rapidly, because you don't want Piastri able to sort of manage his way through the rest of the season from here. So yeah, I think it's a vital race for Norris, and he needs to basically have a faultless weekend.
He does, and it's easy, much easier said than done around this track, of course. It's very, very tricky. It's very difficult. And as well, Tom, strangely, it is difficult to pass around here as well, as Charles Leclerc found out 12 months ago. If you just ace your marks, if you drive perfectly, which again is easier said than done, but Piastri's shown that you can do it across pretty much an entire Grand Prix distance here last year. Lando Norris really needs to do well in qualifying. He's really got to ace qualifying, because we've seen that Piastri, despite how long those straights are, which are pretty much back to back, it is difficult to pass around here.
It is, yeah, especially if you're in the same car as the person in front and they know what your setup is and you know what their setup is. It's going to be quite difficult there. I think they're in a similar situation with regards to engine, where I think Lando's engine was actually okay after the failure in Zandvoort. I think it was an oil leak, wasn't it, that caused the engine to shut down to avoid having a failure. So not technically an engine failure. So I think that engine is still, or that power unit is still in the pool and still able to be used. So that will be a huge sigh of relief to him if I am accurate in that statement, which I hope I am. In regards to the championship, he absolutely does need to be on top of Piastri, but I think it's going to be difficult this weekend. I think it's going to be a case of damage limitation, because Lando Norris has never finished on a podium here, apart from in F2, or yes, it was F2 at the time. And Oscar Piastri, he won here last year. It just seems to suit him more than Lando Norris. I think the only hope will be when we come to talk about the other teams, and if we're going to see a repeat of what we saw last week, and Ferrari very good out of 90-degree corners, that in the traction zones very quick. So it's just going to be a case of can he be as close to Oscar as possible, capitalize on any opportunities that are presented to him, and then hope that there can be cars between him and Oscar. It's going to be difficult, but I don't think it's the be all and end all. I think if Oscar wins 2 more races this year without a failure, that's probably it for Lando. So he does need to stay on top of Piastri and stay as close to him as possible and take the opportunities when they're there. And he needs to be faultless as well, because he's guilty of having a few mistakes as well this year. As we've seen, Oscar's due a mistake, but he's a robot. So is he actually going to make a mistake? We don't know. But it's just the kind of thing. He just needs to make sure he's not making mistakes, and that he is racing as quick as he can. Because let's be honest, like, his pace has looked great against Oscar. It's been the mistakes that have cost him. The only mistake that Oscar's made all year was when the rain hit in Australia in his home Grand Prix. So he's just got to hope that happens again, because I think he is probably going to need a failure. On paper, he needs 4 points a race to catch him by the end of the season or race weekend. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility when there's a 7-point swing for first and second, but say 2 more race wins for Oscar with Lando second. And I'd say the gap's then too much, because it's then out of Lando's hands. He needs help from somewhere else. So I think we need something to happen to Oscar for the championship to keep that intensity all the way to the end, if indeed we want a repeat of 2021. I'm not sure anyone does, but that's what we need this weekend, really, if that's for the Lando Norris fans anyway.